What's up? Hey, for years, HIIT has had all the hype, but recently I have seen a shift away from higher intensity training to lower intensity activities like Pilates, like walking, which can be great for your joints, your hormonal health, even your mental health. But part of what originally made HIIT so trendy were its claims around fat burning. It's quick, it's effective, you burn a lot of calories, not only during, but in the hours following, or so it claimed. So today I want to put those claims to the test, comparing when done for the same amount of time, which workout is ultimately more effective. Not too long ago, I did a similar experiment comparing HIIT versus weights, and in that video, I used a device called Lumen. Lumen is a first of its kind device, actually the first of its kind, available outside of research labs that can measure your metabolism in real time. You start by breathing into the device then syncs with the app to determine your body's carbon dioxide concentration, and it's then able to indicate the type of fuel your body is using to produce energy, a mix of fat and or carbs. It's basically like having a nutritionist in your pocket, because based on the insights you get, Lumen can then make recommendations for what to eat, when to eat, how to keep your metabolism healthy, feel better in your body, support fat burning, etc. Obviously, fat burning is not a priority for me. I am very much so growing a baby, but I am training for this pregnancy like an athlete so I can have a healthier baby and hopefully an easier delivery. So in my app, I selected the fitness performance track. This optimizes your nutrition for better workouts, better performance, but you can completely customize this to your own journey. So huge thank you to Lumen for partnering with me on today's video. They've done an insane offer for our community where the first 100 people to get their Lumen will save $50 off. So link for that will be down below. Go now.
Welcome to the gym. Welcome to my belly. We're going to be kicking today's video off by testing our steady state cardio condition. As I mentioned in a previous video, we have compared HIIT versus lifting. Given where I'm at in this pregnancy, the belly button is popping. I am not going to be pushing my body with HIIT training, taking things to the extreme. So what we're going to do instead is take the data from that first video, compare it against the data we get today. In the first video, we did 20 minutes of HIIT on the bike. Today, we're going to do 20 minutes of steady state cardio at a moderate intensity on the bike. So we're comparing apples to apples, kind of. So I'm gonna go ahead, set up the bike, get our starting Lumen measurement, and then we will get things going. So we're now all set up. We're gonna hop on the bike. We have got 20 minutes of steady state at a moderate intensity. I will be keeping an eye on my heart rate on my watch throughout today's workout, just to make sure we're not cheating. We're not going too hard. We're not going too easy. We're staying in that sweet spot of moderate intensity. Steady state cardio is done. We did just over 20 minutes, kept our cadence in the right spot, kept our heart rate in the right zones. So I'm gonna go ahead, start up the Lumen, and let's see what Lumen has to tell us about our post-workout.
Okay, so in case you missed the last video on HIIT versus weights, I will link that down below. I highly recommend watching it, but based on our Lumen measurement, at least from a metabolic standpoint, this steady state workout should have had essentially the same impact on our body as the HIIT workout. So, did we expect this? Yes, at least in how I structured the workouts. The way that I structured the HIIT workout in the last video was 20 minutes of 30 seconds on, 90 seconds off. During those 30 seconds on, I cranked up the resistance. I was aiming for a 75 to 90% hard effort. By the end of each interval, I wanted to be dying, legs fried, lungs jumping out of my body. Then during the 90 seconds off, I wasn't physically off the bike, but I took off all the resistance and just kept my legs moving at a super easy recovery intensity. So both workouts were 20 minutes in length. The key for me with the steady state training, and where I think a lot of people go wrong, if that's maybe not the right word to use, but where a lot of people lose the effectiveness of these workouts, is that because you're just doing the same intensity for the duration of the session, they use that as an opportunity to mentally check out and not really pay attention to where that intensity is at. Something you may have noticed in the footage is that right from the get-go, I was keeping an eye on my watch. I was making sure I was getting up to that moderate intensity, feeling what that felt like, not going too hard and not going too easy, and then holding that intensity for the duration of the steady state session. If this still isn't making sense, let's look at the numbers. Luckily for both of these workouts, I was wearing my activity tracker, so we have a log of what my body was doing and how it was responding, at least from an intensity standpoint. And we know that calories burned during exercise are directly proportional to exercise intensity. In the case of cardio training, heart rate can be used as a proxy. So pulling up those charts, so similar average heart rate, similar average intensity across the same workout duration, you can expect to burn a similar amount of calories. But what about the afterburn effect? Yes, the afterburn effect is real. The technical term for this is EPOC, or excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. That's a real tongue twister, maybe not for you, but for me. Basically, the idea is that when you train at a high enough intensity, you create an oxygen debt in your body. And so in the hours following, your body has to continue working to repay this debt to get you back to resting levels, resulting in an increase in metabolism. This concept was all the rage a few years back, with many trainers making wild claims about how much their training style would boost your metabolism. But truth is, many of these claims were overstated or not properly represented, because as we have learned from more recent research, EPOC is not as significant as you may think, and the amount of EPOC tapers as you recover. So 24 to 48 hours after your workout, that EPOC isn't gonna be that big. It's only gonna maybe work out to, on average, an extra few percent relative to the number of calories you burn during your workout. So using my workouts as an example, I would estimate that both of these sessions, 20 minutes at the intensity we were training, I'd say they probably burned around 200 calories for me in my body. The difference, the EPOC effect that the HIIT workout may have had, I would guess, if I'm being incredibly generous, on the high end of the spectrum, it may have burned an extra 30 calories after the workout. And that is, again, like I said, going with the high end of the currently accepted ranges for where the literature estimates EPOC may be. I will link my sources down below if you want to check them out for yourself. So what does this mean? I feel like every video we arrive at a similar place where I tell you to focus on what you can do consistently. I know it may sound boring, but hopefully you can see after today's experiment that HIIT and steady state training can burn a similar amount of calories when you control for the amount of time you're doing them, and you just kind of keep an eye on your intensity. We're not getting lazy, we're not spacing out. My preference, and you'll know this if you follow me on Instagram, I have a bunch of captions on it, but I really like moderate intensity, steady state training. It is oftentimes easier on your joints, it's easier on your body hormonally. You're not constantly like on high alert doing these crazy extreme intervals. And from a very practical standpoint, if you're trying to extend your endurance, train more like an athlete, if you just want to burn some more calories, I find it's easier to extend the duration of a steady state or moderate intensity session without drastically increasing your risk of injury due to fatigue. I mean, just think about the sessions that we shared in this video. If I were to double the duration of both of those sessions, right? So take them from 20 minutes to 40 minutes. If I took that steady state session of 40 minutes, I could probably hold that intensity, no problem. Whereas if I were to double the duration of that HIIT workout, like even just thinking about that now stresses me out. Not only do I feel like my risk of injury would increase, especially if you were doing something more like complex or coordination required, like sprinting for your HIIT, but also mentally, I feel like I would lose focus. My intensity, not consciously, but subconsciously, would probably drop off in some of those later intervals. But that's just my preference. Maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you need the intervals to keep you in the workout mentally, and maybe you don't enjoy sprinting. Maybe you do like a lower impact, but still high intensity form of HIIT training. Maybe you do it on the elliptical, maybe you do it on the bike. I don't know what you're doing. doing, right? But it really comes down to personal preference and what you can do consistently. So I hope you found this video interesting. I love doing these little experiments. I love learning more about my body and sharing my findings with you. Again, if you want to check out Lumen for yourself, they have got an insane offer for our community, so I'll put a link for that down below. Otherwise, I think that is it. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.